difficult was it to communicate out there in Detroit?
I think, obviously it was a good environment by Detroit, but it's nothing that we haven't played in before. We need to do a better job, and that starts with me. It's got to be loud. I think, we have different ways of communicating in environments like that, and I didn't take advantage of the different tools to do that, which led to some problems, especially early on. So, that's an emphasis for us. Obviously, we'll be at home this week, but the link can get pretty loud too. So you got to be ready to be able to make sure everybody's on the same page. I think if you look at the O-line, when we were on the same page, it really wasn't that much going on in the game. I thought for the most part, guys were able to do their jobs physically. I think it's really just the communication aspect, and that's mostly my job.
Minnesota plays a lot of different fronts, and they mix up a lot of stuff. From a center perspective, how difficult is it to set the protections and get everybody in the right position, especially with the play clock winding down?
Yeah, they do a lot of. It's a different defense, but they're similar to our defense in that way that you're going to get a bunch of different looks. So we're lucky that we've seen a lot of this stuff from Jonathan Gannon all through training camp. But you got to be ready for all the varieties of personnels, fronts, looks. You're going to be obviously waiting to see what they come out and how they're going to try to defend us, and you got to be able to communicate how to block each and every one of those looks for all the plays we have in.
I know it was a win in Detroit, but you talked in the preseason about how sometimes after a win, maybe the tape isn't studied as hard. Over these last few games, how do you feel the team responded, I guess, to the win?
Well, I think we know very much that game could have been lost. I think everybody saw that watching it. So, I think we're obviously very happy that we won the game, and I think that is good when you can win games like that. That speaks well to a team. But we all know there's a lot to fix from that tape, and just myself and personally, I know that there are a lot of things that I need to do to put our team in a better situation. So I don't think we're approaching it light at all.
I think there's a part of the coaching staff that kind of likes the idea of having a win, and you get a win, but there's still a lot to correct as opposed to sort of being perfect with one.
Well, if you play a perfect game and you only win by 3, that's not very good. If you play a game where you make a lot of mistakes and you get bailed out quite a bit and you still win the game, that's rare. So it's good that A.J. Brown and some of the guys were able to have good enough performances for us to win. But obviously, offensively, defensively, across the board, there's a lot to improve on. So if we're still winning games, there's a lot to improve on. That's good. But I don't know. I think we're just focused on getting better.
After the game, you spoke highly about how Jalen played. After watching the tape, I'm guessing a few times this week, do you have any more takeaways about his game?
Not really. I think it's the same that it felt out there. Especially the first, not the first drive, but the first quarter, first half, he bailed us out of numerous third down situations that would have stalled out drives. And, I think his ability to improvise and run and be dynamic saved us in those situations. So I don't feel any differently from the way I felt after the game.
There's a lot of talk this week about the difference between the run defense in 3-4 or 4-3 or odd even, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess from your perspective, what's different about those two fronts, and is there one that's more challenging to deal with?
It just depends on what you're going to run. I think some running plays and some schematic things are built for 3-4 defenses or under fronts or 5 on the line, however you want to say it. Some plays are more geared towards 4 down structured things, and when you put 5 guys on the line, you're going to take off some of the double teams, right? But that also can mess with your ability to readjust emotions, to readjust the pulling players. There's a lot of different ways to attack a defense, and I think that all of them have strengths, all of them have weaknesses, and
What kind of challenges, at least through 1 week, they kind of moved Zadarius Smith and looked inside a lot. So to have that kind of edge rusher coming inside, how aware do you have to be of that obvious passing situation?
We have to be aware of it, and it wasn't always passing situations. They did it on 1st and 10, and obviously that game was it wasn't out of hand, but Minnesota was leading it pretty early on. So, but they'll move him all over the place, and you have to be aware of where he's at and cognizant of what they're doing with him. And that's not different than what they did with him in Green Bay. I mean, he's always been a guy that's come inside and rushed over guards and centers. He's very, very good and dynamic. So they're going to do their best to give him good matchups and try and get him one-on-ones and things like that. So he's a great player. So they're certainly trying to take advantage of that.
What did you like about the things you guys were able to do in the running game against the Lions that can, go forward, this Monday?
Well, I thought we hit double teams well. We moved people. We changed the line of scrimmage for much of the game. So I think Miles ran the ball really, really well. Not that I feel like he always runs the ball really well, but in particular, I thought he had a great game against Detroit. We have some really, really good backs, good offensive line, a quarterback who's a dynamic player. The run game should be pretty good, and it was last year. And I think that we have a team that can definitely do that if it needs to or if it wants to.
What was your reaction to Travis getting body slammed?
I don't know. We were just talking about it on the podcast earlier, Derwin James is pretty good, and everybody gets got, so you got to be ready.
How do you like doing the podcast?
So far, it's not bad. It's pretty fun. I mean, we've only done 2. More than anything, it's fun to just have a weekly get together with my brother. I feel like during the season, a lot of times you get so busy and things going on that you forget to keep in touch, or it kind of escapes your mind. So it's been fun to really just have some designated times to talk with them and talk about the week, reminisce about old stories, family events, whatever we're talking about. It's enjoyable, and we're having fun so far with it.
Are you checking the numbers, checking the download numbers and stuff?
We got people checking it for us. They're texting us little pictures about where they're at. So I'd say right now they're moderate. We need some more listeners. So if you're listening, come on. But no, I think it's fun. I think really we're just focused on trying to have a good time with it, and whatever happens with that.
What's it called?
New Heights, which is in reference to Travis and I being from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And some people in the organization we're with are also got some Cleveland roots. So that was the name. I kind of was, I don't know if you guys have heard, not to give another podcast a shout out, but Two Bears, One Cave with Tom Segura, and then Travis and I were Bearcats. So I was like, one bear, one cat, but that would have been kind of stealing from them a little bit too much probably. But
You guys good? All right.
all right, guys.